Welcome back. In this video we're going to learn about op art. We just got done watching a PowerPoint in class learning about Bridget Riley and how she started op art in the late 60s. Op art is an abbreviation for optical art, and the way that the lines and the colors in op art are done play tricks on the eyes, and we talked about optical illusions, or having to do with tricking the eye. So in this, how op art works is that it uses lots of lines, and the way it puts lines together trick the eye. So you can see in my composition back here, I've used some straight lines. Most of them are diagonal, some of them are a little horizontal, and some of them might even be vertical. But depending on how you look at it, I've got these straight lines here. Then I've got curved lines. They don't wiggle quite like this, but if you look closer, it's just one curved line like this, and then the second line is a little offset and curves the opposite direction. Okay? Going from that to the next piece, we're going to look at space, which is another element of art, and the space in between the lines is going to create that optical illusion along with the repetition. You want to have those lines spaced regularly so that they repeat. And if you look, you can see how I've got the one curve offset a little bit against the next curve. They don't match up perfectly. There might be one or two places where I made a mistake, like right here, and they're really close. But on the whole, I tried to make them a little bit offset so that they wouldn't match up. You can also see that none of my lines go all the way through. I've offset each line so they don't have like a brother or sister line that goes all the way through. Okay? So, elements of line, space, and the principle of repetition make op art really what it is. So to get started, you're going to need an 80-pound piece of paper. So take your pencil and write down, you don't need to write down 80 pounds, but write down your first and last name. Please write it neatly so we can read it when the person is uploading these onto Artsonia. And then please write your grade and your teacher's name so that we know what class you belong to. Flip your paper over and then decide where the center of your composition is. You can see here I decided my center would be right there, and you're just going to put a little dot there so you can kind of keep straight where your center is going to be. Alright, then you're going to use a ruler, and you're just going to start at that center and draw a line from the center out to the edge of the paper. Okay, now from math we know that if we drew a straight line all the way out here, right along that ruler, it would be 180 degrees, right? So we want to make sure that we do not have 180 degrees there. We're just going to go like that. Okay, so it's not 180 degrees. We don't want any of our lines to be exactly the same. So within this space, I'm going to say, give myself 3 to 4 finger widths in between each line. I'm just going to start at the point of the center and draw out to the edge of the paper. Okay, and you can kind of just repeat diagonal straight lines from the center out to the edge. Now the trick is you want to have an even number of triangles. Okay, this being one of our triangles. So after you get done kind of filling in the paper, you're going to count them and make sure you have an even number. Even numbers end in 2, 4, 6, or 8, or 0. Right? So you want to count those when you're done. Why do we want to have an even number? Can anyone tell me? Okay, yeah, good. You want to have an even number because you're going to have half of the curves going up, down, and half of the curves going up. Okay, so there's an even number of those triangles, so it works out. Otherwise, when you get to the end, you're going to have 2 that are going the same direction, and that will look wrong. That'll break the pattern and the repetition. Okay, so here again, now that I'm past my 180 degrees, I'm being extra careful to make sure that none of my lines actually line up, and I'm trying to space them kind of like right in the middle of a different section there so that I don't have them meeting up. All right, now I'm going to count. I'm going to start here. I'll just count in my head. Okay, so I have 14, which is an even number, so I don't need to add an extra one. If I did need to add an extra one, I would take like a bigger piece, like this is probably my biggest piece, and I would just put a line right through the center of there to add an extra one so I could have it be even if it wasn't. Then you're just going to start by making curved lines in one of your triangular areas. So I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to curve my lines up. Now the more extreme you make your curve, the more it will look like it's curved. This section is curving up. So I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to try to kind of evenly space my curves. Like that. And then I'm going to imagine that this goes off the page and that my curves are continuing off the page. And that will help with our illusion. Okay, now in the next section, I'm going to have the curves going the opposite way. So since these are pointing towards the center, the next ones are going to point away from the center. And I'm going to offset them ever so slightly so that they don't match up. Okay, so it looks something like that. And if you want to make them closer, that's fine. If you want to make them farther apart, that's fine. Everyone's will look a little bit different, and that's good. We want everyone's to look a little different and have part of your own personality in there, because that's what artwork is all about. Okay, once you get those first two done, check in with me so that I can make sure you've got the same, the right idea going. And you can see here that it just follows a pattern. These ones are curving out, these are curving towards the center, out towards the center, out towards the center. And you just follow that pattern all the way around. And if you have an even number, it'll end up working out. Then after you get those first two done, you can do all the rest of them with a Sharpie, because that'll just keep things going easier. But I want to make sure that you've got the idea of them and you kind of have them starting in the same pattern before you go on, so that you don't make a mistake and mess up. And then at the same time, use that Sharpie to outline the straight lines coming out of the center. And if you want to go back to your ruler and use your ruler to redo those lines, you can. Okay, or if you just feel like you can freehand it, you can do that as well. Whatever you feel like is going to work best for you. All right, at this point, Mr. Lundgren, you could fast forward the video so that we don't have to watch it, slow motion, but you can see what this will end up looking like at the end. There. Now that we're done, you can see that we used a variety of lines, straight lines and curved lines, and we spaced them to create the repetition of that pattern. And if you have any pencil lines left over, like I've got right there, you can take your eraser and just erase them. Once you're done, you can check in with me and we will talk about coloring to make the patterns. And that will be in the next video. Thanks for joining me.